Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Rise of the Tomb Raider Survivor difficulty walkthrough. We're on the rescue as we talk to this remnant dude who's probably going to give you some missions or something of that sort, but we're going to ignore him because we have a pick on a stick, which is really a string, so that doesn't work, but you know what I mean. I like my axe on a string. It's one of those features where if you could play the game from the beginning with that thing, you could platform so quickly, because it's that ridiculous. I wish you could use it as a weapon. It would be awesome. Just imagine, you're in cover, and you can kind of like throw it over and pull on it and yank people out of cover and two-piece them with a weapon. That'd be the shit. Or you could scorpion them from a distance and just get over here and do some kind of dodge counter execution. I know it's impractical, it's not very realistic, but it's a fucking video game. Let me have my fun, damn it. But you can hear it now. This is what's happening in the story, just in case you didn't realise, and this is a little bit of detail, just in case you didn't realise, and just in case you thought the characters were flat and undeveloped, here's a little bit more of that. Like, no! Stop talking, Lara, god damn it! Have faith in your storytelling, don't dump this bullshit on us. This is not standalone complex. But this is the upgrade tree, and as you can see, we've done a couple of things on it, and there's a couple of things left to do. I don't know if you know the tree well, but you'll know on the Brawler tree, the ones I haven't picked at the moment are the health ones and the stealth landing. You'll also notice that the silent stealth kills is also not unlocked, yet look at the stealth kills we've done in this walkthrough. We've done some that were incredibly questionable, which makes me question just exactly to the usefulness of that skill. But the good news is, by the time you pick it, if you're picking it quite late like I will, you've got all the useful stuff. And that brings us to a very important part of game development, which, look at the mushrooms we're getting from these boxes. Oh, so powerful, so strong, absolute power. There's a diving spot if you want to do that, but we're going to be heading this way, and we're going to meet up with a guy I called Jacob in the first episode, but I don't think he's called Jacob. What's his name? Will it show us? Have I trimmed it out? Find out on the next exciting episode. Here he is. Jonah, there you go. It's a similar name, isn't it? I can forgive myself for that bullshit. So Jonah gets captured. His name is Jonah by the Weezers. And we're once again in the snow, which I really like the snowy aesthetic of this game. I didn't think it was going to be the way it turned out to be, but I still really enjoy it. So the topic, a really important aspect of video games. Skill trees / abilities that unlock in a hierarchical system, which is just a fancy way of saying it trees out and there's tiers that lead to tiers that lead to tiers. So, I never think these systems are done well enough. Sometimes they are, but it's very infrequent. And once again, a lot of this is 100% subjective. It's your own personal flair for things. I don't like any kind of skill tree that gives you moves you should have. I'm okay with reinventing a move to make it function differently, or enhancing and augmenting a move to make it better or somehow different, or maybe just changing certain aspects of it, but I hate it when something that is paramount to your survival is in a tree that you have to go towards it. Like when I've played Dragon Age 2, which I did it for about an hour, then I turned it off and sent it back because at the time I just wasn't in the right mindset and I didn't like it. I picked the double-bladed ranger character, is it? And I wanted to go towards parrying, because I think the description's like, he's good at parrying and he does this, he's got a nice beard. So I picked this dude, and then I looked on the tree, and it was like the 4th skill to get parrying, which, this could be utter bullshit and my memory's gone, but, you know, it works for the purposes of the story. So I had to invest points to get to a move I should have had at the beginning. You know, it's like when you played Ninja Gaiden, the very first one, not the one on the NES, but the one that was redone for Xbox by Team Ninja. And you begin the game without the Azuna drop. And you have to earn the Azuna drop, and you're just like, what the fuck is this trash? You know, it's like starting the game without the guillotine thrown. These moves that are so important to the way that game works, that they don't give you them from the beginning, and it pisses me off. It really does. You know, there are certain games where this works. For instance, I think like Devil May Cry. Because in that game, It's designed for New Game Plus. The harder difficulties on that game are almost assuming that you're going in there with a Dante that's had all his abilities bought and all his shit given to him. But Ninja Gaiden's never really been that kind of system. It has that system, but the very first time you play Master Ninja, it's from a new game. You can't inherit anything and go on Master Ninja, or it wouldn't be as hard as it is. Devil May Cry, you can take everything with you on Dante Must Die. In fact, it's really hard not to. And if you don't know what I mean by that, on Devil May Cry 4, you cannot start a new game on Dante Must Die. You have to do a no upgrade run of the previous 2 difficulties, which is as boring as it sounds, to get to that, to play it as if it was a new game, which I think is disgusting, considering that Devil May Cry 1, Devil May Cry 2, and Devil May Cry 3 all gave you the option. Once you'd unlocked Dante Must Die and beat it, you could press new game, pick difficulty, and it was there. I know, I tried Devil May Cry 3 on a new game, Dante Must Die. It is hard as balls. It's really hard. You want a tough challenge? Try that. Jesus Christ, that's tough. But Ninja Gaiden's never been that way. Sure, you can inherit your shit and do a New Game Plus run, but if you're starting a difficulty you've never beat, good luck with your Dragon Sword and your lacking abilities, because that's how it works. And that is something I've never agreed with in any game. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, Wonderful 101, you have to buy the ability to block. You have to buy the ability to dodge. You cannot dodge on that game unless you buy it. Which, that might be wrong, actually. Maybe you can dodge, but you can't have the spring part of it. It's been a while since I've played, but you get the idea, guys. I do apologise if I'm misquoting these games, but the idea is the skill tree should make your character better in ways that aren't completely necessary. That's my opinion, anyway. And the second thing that I think is incredibly important that nobody else seems to is choice. And I don't just mean, here's 1,000 things, lose yourself in it. I mean, there's 3 things I want, but I can only afford 1. And if I pick 1, I can't have the other 2. Choices that matter. That's the kind of stuff that a skill tree needs. And it needs it because not only does it advocate replayability and trying other things, but it also means that your skills are so good and so well designed and so diversely different that people want them all. And don't get me wrong, there could be a feature in that game where you can do something really tough and challenging and it gives you extra points, so in the end you can have all the abilities and that's fine. But for the purposes of the first playthrough, you have to choose, you have to commit. And that way, every single piece of skill point that you use feels precious. Feels really precious. Because you only have so many and there's so much that you want. And it gives the illusion of it being better than it is, because you're always wanting something rather than like, oh, I leveled up, that's alright. I'll leave that. Like Yakuza. Yakuza's fucking horrible, dude. They put great skills behind useless skills. And you have to get useless skills to unlock the greater skills. So you might want the ability to dodge faster, or have a better dodge. But you've got to get your life upgraded twice just to get to it. Arbitrary hurdles that make you choose things you don't want to get to things you do want. That is a problem, I think. That is something that we need to snap out. And it would just make it so much more rewarding. Like on Yakuza, I think it's 4, you don't have to upgrade your life if you don't want to. It's a choice. Yakuza 1 and 2, there is no choice. If you want those skills in that tree, you must go for life. Conversely to this, using Yakuza as an example, because it's on the channel at the moment, Tiger Drop is the best move in that game. It is a counter move that requires strict timing and gives you great heat regeneration and awesome damage. I'm in love with it. It's my favourite aspect of those games. Yakuza 4, you have to buy it. Buy it with upgrade points. Every other Yakuza game, you got it from Kamaki, a trainer who gave it you for doing his tests. That game is reliant on level. Why? Why would they do that? Why would they make such a drastic change that does nothing but hurt the player? Don't get it. Obviously, they probably did it to try something different, diversification, altering it up so that it doesn't get stagnant, and I respect that. But I think it's a dumb choice. And pulling it away from other games and bringing it back to Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider has 3 trees. The first one is Brawler, the second one is like fucking Nature or something, Survival. The other one is like Fashion, I don't know. I only know the Brawler one, and one of them is, I think, Survival. One of them might be Hunting or something. Each of these trees is so ubiquitously just generic that there's about 4 skills in each of them, which are tiered with maybe 20 skills, that are interesting, and the rest of them are just like, have an extra Snicker at dinner. You know, shit you don't need, shit you don't care for, shit that should be there that isn't there. This is a pretty good pattern here, by the way, but I think one of these guys ruins this a little bit. But that opening gambit will work every time, but it only works on the restart, because the restart puts you on that branch, and it puts you on that branch as they're moving forward. So there's those two guys. There's one guy over there. Is he wearing a helmet? I can't tell. No helmet. It says stealthy, so it might mean we're done. Has she stood up? She stood up. We're done. Yeah, there you go. That is a pretty cool one. That is an opportunity to climb with the arrowheads, which is a really good move. But that's a good example of a move that I think is rewarded by an upgrade. We have the ability to charge our arrows. Watch this. And then it embeds in, and then we can climb on it. Pretty cool technique, isn't it? It completely changes how you appraise height and traversal in this game. It's cool. I like it. There is an ability in the tree once you have this item to make it so that if you run and jump at that wall and you press Y, she will bury an arrow in. And you never have to do that move ever again. And that is an example of a mechanic being subtly altered, but altered in such a great way that you never have to use the one that preceded it. And that is true evolution of a mechanic, I think. And I think that's really cool, as I wait for these guys. Trank those two, and then quickly try and hit him in the face. There we go. See it? He vanished! That was it, guys! You see him disappear? Rewind that shit. He disappeared. And this is where people are going to start disappearing. And it gets really weird. So there's this fella here who we're going to try and... I love that. What? I'm going to have to slow that down. Do you think that hit? I think that hit. But maybe it technically clipped a tree or something? There was blood! Oh, I don't get it. Tomb Raider, you work in mysterious ways. But yeah, shit's going to start getting weird now. As we push up here, there's a guy patrolling here, and then there's a guy over to the left here. So we're going to knife that fella. Guy to the left, he's just there, and then there's a guy directly behind him. How he doesn't see me here, I will never know. See him just there? And you can throw the lantern at him should you choose to, but funny story, she wouldn't pick up the fucking lantern, she wanted the bottle. I don't know why. Like an alcoholic in training. She just would. You see how I'm trying to tilt the camera to make it pick the other one? Not a clue. So instead I make a Molotov, I waste a cloth, and I toss this at him. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I really like this mission too. It's a good combination of stealth scenarios like this and action set pieces. It also has one of the toughest fights in the game, which is actually really easy if you do it super slow, but super slow and me do not go on. We do not get along at all. So I'm going to try and do it a bit quicker, and it's super frustrating. So if you've played the game before, you'll remember the moment where you go under the ice and there's a bunch of dudes with lasers and it's all smoky and you have to kill them. I think there's 8 people. On one run, I got 7 people with 2 poison arrows and there was 1 guy left. But the guy who was left ended up putting a full burst into me and putting me to critical life. At the time, this offended me because I didn't want to go to critical life. I wanted to look more impressive than that and have better looking gameplay. So I restarted right at the end, right on the last guy. And then I must have tried 10 to 15 times to get a cleaner run as that, and I couldn't do it. Could not get that placement whatsoever, so I ended up going a different way. The good news is, you're better than me at games, so you should be able to do that fine. And it works so well if you can get it to work the pattern that I did. 2 of the arrows just got like 3 to 4 people. It was really cool.
It's a stamp.
But there's a new base, there's a stamp, and we've just got to level up, so we're probably going to spend it now. Let's see what we pick. See what out of all the abilities that are left we actually want, which is none of them. So let's see where we go with this. So Brawler, Hunter, and Survivor. So we've got all the healing ones I don't want. We've got Adrenaline, which is an interesting one, and we've got Stealth Landing. Stealth Landing opens up Silent Killer. Silent Killer seems to me to be a throwaway perk for something you already have, but I'm certain it has some kind of function. These are my weapons for the people interested. I should have really put the bolt action on in here. So here's the story, guys. On my first playthrough, I was using the bolt action when I first got it suppressed, and I thought it was a cool gun. But at the time, I had the Desert Eagle suppressed, and they both did the same thing. They both were one-shot, one-kill headshot weapons. So I was like, what's the point in having this one-shot rifle when my pistol does the same thing and I can use the rifle for suppression? So of course, I swap it to the AK, what I'm using right now. At this point, however, I was way more upgraded than I am on the video that you're watching. We're also going to see some invisible bullshit here, and we're also going to see a moment where I'm not happy with gameplay. See that? What the fuck? He just vanished! And watch this. I take this guy out, and everybody knows I'm here, so you'll see red triangles. Everybody knows, they can see me through the trees, they can see me through a tractor. They know. It's like, what the fuck? How do they know? There's no way they could know, except for omniscient game bullshit. So I restart, because I'm not happy, and I want to get a better run for this walkthrough. And watch where the fucking checkpoint puts me. Well, look at that! Both people are dead, no alert. That's just weird, but it's helpful, because it fucked up. And watch this. Headshot him, turn to your right, headshot the guy past the two dudes, and the two dudes will disappear. Look at that! That happens every time you do that, and I'm hoping if you've patched it, it don't happen, so you'll have to fire a poison arrow at them two fellas. But if it does, hilarious. Yeah, straight up Houdini enemies. I don't know what this is. I didn't realise, you know, Bioshock had this much influence on the out-of-water world, but those dudes were straight up Houdini splicers. They're off somewhere now. But we're pushing forward to the more cinematic moment in the level. Not my favourite area of the game, because as much as it looks great the first time, when you replay those moments, you see them for what they are. And that's what this is, you see, guys. Any kind of cinematic, traversal-inspired, you know, super hectic, everything's blowing up quick, try not to die, you're being chased by X moments, are an illusion. They're smoke and mirrors. They're just... The magician has you by the balls, and you're staring at his big-titted assistant, and he has you exactly where he needs you, and he's just sleight of handing your dick off. That's what he's doing. And it works, and you're like, ooh, ah, you know, your mouth's agape, you're staring, it's wonderful. But then afterwards, when you realise, you know, I didn't die here, there wasn't in no danger here, nobody could really hurt me, it just gave the impression of being, you know, dangerous, and you play it again, and it loses the grandeur, it loses the spectacle, so you begin to see, you know, the wire work and the perspective and the things that you didn't see, and you don't look at the big-titted assistant anymore. You look at the magician and you see the dude being a cheeky bastard and flicking his wrist and getting the results and what have you. And then it loses its veneer, it loses that appeal. And then you play it again and you play it again, and by the end of it, it's just mechanical. You're like the dude in the Matrix who's like, I don't even see the Matrix anymore, I just see redhead, I just see blonde. And that's what it becomes, and especially if you've played a lot of these games, you know, when everything's blowing up, the game is so preoccupied by making things look excited, yet not fucking the player, that you're in so little danger at that time. So much so, that when a game comes along and it isn't so heavily scripted and handholdy, and you do die, you kind of go, whoa, shit, I died. Unlike this, where I go and stab this guy. See you later, friend. He's probably the only threat on this part of the level as well. And I stabbed him in the chest, which is pretty damn brutal. But throw your axe, get yourself across, and this is about where it kicks off, I think. I think she falls through the floor. Cliched as it is. But it's fun, you know, that the first time you do this, I do think these sections are great, because they take what you're expecting, and then they change it, like just then. You're expecting to go towards that pipe because you've done it a million times, and then it breaks off and you fall in here and you're like, well, that's cool, I didn't expect that, that's different. It works with your expectations, and when you remove that factor of it, it loses a lot of that gloss, and it's an interesting sacrifice, because the gameplay of shooting and platforming will forever maintain its image because you're in control of it. These sections, at this point we're in control, but at the previous point where it was just pushing you forward and essentially you're just running forward and jumping, you're essentially you're taking part in one of those mousetrap board games and hoping everything comes together and works, which, if you ever tried that, it never did for me, but it did in that advert, it always made it look good. And that's what it is, it's a mousetrap setup. It's just this elaborate sequence of pulley systems and rigs and dominoes toppling, and everything's working in unison. So it's less about your effect on it, and it's more about, are you following this quite strict line? As opposed to a moment such as now, where this is all us. This is 100% us to a degree. As we sit down at the base camp and we can upgrade our weapons. So let's check my weapons. I'm using the second bow. Still haven't changed that gun, I should have changed it. So what am I going to do? We've got a couple of upgrades here. We can get extra whacked string. So of course whacked strings are awesome. And that's it. But there's going to be a couple of fights here, and then we're going to fall into that area which is quite tricky. And the reason it's tricky is simple, guys. Once again, you remember the discussion we had about challenge and difficulty on the previous videos? It's difficult more so for where it's lacking than where it's present. So the conceit of this is there's a bunch of dudes throwing smoke grenades, and they have these lasers to show you where they're pointing. It's kind of like, you know what the Predator does in Predator 2, where he changes his vision, but he can't quite see them, but he can see the lights. So he just triangulates his cannon to hit the source of the light, because he's a clever dude, and we love him. Well, it's kind of like that. The only difference being is, because this is the game on the hardest difficulty and the AI has been changed slightly so that it's upped to its most aware and its most lethal, everybody knows where you fucking are, regardless of how foggy it is, regardless of what you do at times. And when that happens and the computer goes all omniscient, it's just shitty, because it doesn't work right. If you're stealthy enough, you can make it so that none of them know where you are, which is useful. But it's tricky to do, because it's so easy for them to spot you, and when one person spots you, it's almost like the bloody hive mind, and this single consensus and single goal goes through the Borg, and they all come to assimilate you, and it does get quite annoying. Then again, I said there was a few fights, didn't there? There's not. There's this little sequence here, and then we're going to, I think, fall through the ice in a moment. Or is there... Yeah, there's a gunfire here, but all you have to do is shoot the barrel. So get into the left and shoot that barrel. You'll kill both of them. Simple stuff. And I think through the next room is where we fall through the ice. Oh no, there's another gunfight. Here comes the guy charging us. There's the evade. There's the stab. And he's dead. See you later, friend. Arrow through the neck. Doesn't count an arrow either. You've got unlimited arrows if you stick them in bad people's faces.
We have visual on the target. I repeat, we have visual on the target.
But it's just that, the fact that they can see you when they shouldn't see you, and the way that sequence would work better is if when you killed one of them, they all turned to face the person who died, and as long as you moved positions and you kept a wide berth, they didn't know where you are, because in a sequence such as this, it should be you hunting them, not them hunting you. But how this game works is if I'd have stood where I was just then after I fired that arrow, everybody would start shooting me, as if they knew where I was. And there's going to be a wonderful sequence coming up here, because you see how they don't quite know? This is perfect. This works. But look how quick he knew. How the fuck would he know? You don't know where an arrow's coming from. You just hear the whistle. It's just... And don't get me wrong. I 100% understand it. It's a video game. You know, it's designed in a specific way. You do this, they do this, and that's how it works. That's how it's challenging. But, you know, when they're putting these sequences in, it would have been so much cooler here if the AI had reacted better. Like, look at that. How can he see me? He's not wearing thermals. There's red smoke everywhere. He couldn't see his hand in front of his face. He really couldn't. Yet he knew I was there, boom, and spotted me. And it's just that video gaminess of... Because his awareness is cranked up to 1,000,000, he saw me. And I think this sequence could be vastly improved if they gave the enemy a little bit of... Like, look at that. Just make them fallible. Make them crap. Make them panic and make mistakes. Make this seem... like Lara's the hunter. And sure, make it challenging, but right now there's no reason anybody should know where I am. But at the moment I shoot that guy, everybody knows. And I find it just strange. I really do, because to me, like, you know, in Batman and the Arkham games, when you get to the point where you've took everybody out and they don't know where you are and everyone's shitting themselves and acting differently, how cool is that? It makes them erratic, so they're harder to predict where they go, and they've got an itchy trigger finger, but they're also afraid of you. And you know they're afraid of you, so it gives you an advantage, a psychological one. This bit here, everybody's just fucking... We know where you are, we're just waiting for you to fire. Like, that was a mistake just then. I meant to fire an explosive one, I fired a normal one. I do that a few times in this sequence. But the safest way is to essentially isolate them and strangle them through the ice, and you can do it pretty conveniently, but it took me about 15 minutes to get everybody. And I didn't want to put you through a 15-minute video of me swimming under ice like a bitch. So instead, I'm just doing the whole, you know, I'm over here, come kill me, and then I'm going over here and killing them. And it does work. It's just... I have problems with this sequence. There you go, though. That's it, guys. We got rid of them. It is a fun and interesting fight. I just wish it was a bit better. Thank you for watching, and you take care now.